name's Eddie Grant. I'm with Pasture Farms. We're located in south of Owensboro, Kentucky. We farm wheat, soybeans, and corn, and we do grow milo every other year. Years ago, we used to spray with a tractor and a 25-foot disc and just had spray nozzles mounted on the front of the disc and tanks on the tractor. And that was for several years, just incorporated it. And then we had a truck, had several different kinds of trucks over the years that had spray booms mounted on the back with 1,000 gallons or 2,000 gallon tanks on them. And just evolved into, then we went to a spray coupe, and from the spray coupe we went to Apache. We've had Apaches for I'd say 10 years. Started out with, we had a 500 Apache with a 60-foot boom on it several years ago, and then we upgrade, every year, not every year, but the last 2 years we've upgraded every year because of the hours we put on the machine anymore. When we first started, I wouldn't put but 200 or 300 hours a year. Now I'm putting between 400 and 600 hours a year on a machine, so we try to keep a better machine in the field. And we needed one with a bigger tank on it to get over more acres faster. That's how we evolved into the 715. Between 20 and 25,000 acres a year is how much we spray with this sprayer. A lot of it involved around the type of chemicals that we use. A lot of them want the chemical laid right on top now instead of incorporating it after everything's planted, and it makes, it controls your weeds a lot better. So we went to spraying over the top, and that's how we evolved into, the ground sprayers instead of the disc and things. We farm in Spencer County, Indiana, and Ohio County, Kentucky, and if you have to go from one farm to the other, which we haul our Apache on a trailer, and it still takes probably 45 minutes to go from one farm to the other hauling it. We go from hills with seeps in it to 700 acres of big flat ground where it's really nice, and then you go over in the southern Davis County, and we've got hills and flat ground, and we've got a lot of hills that we have gully plugs in that you got to work around. And then we go to Henderson County, and it's a great big open river bottoms down there, which is nice. You get down there, you get something done, or you feel like you do. We got all our tanks and things on a semi, and I pull the trailer behind my pickup. And once we get to the field, well, they'll park that truck somewhere. Like if I'm in Davis County in Browns Valley area, well, we got several acres there. They could park that truck, and then everybody else goes off and does what they need to be doing while I'm spraying, and I'll just haul it over with my pickup, and that way I have fuel and everything to last me for a couple of days. And you got to drive it from field to field. It handles good on the road. It runs 29 miles an hour or 30 miles an hour, and because I don't move that semi around from field to field, because it takes an extra man to sit there and do that, and while you're spraying, he's just sitting there, so we let them go on so they can run tractors and things. The suspension on these things is so good. On the truck, these were older trucks, and you were sitting on this leaf springs basically. There wasn't any air ride or anything else, and it just, completely different world. This Cummins motor, I like it. It's got a lot of torque and stuff, and it's decent on fuel, but the John Deere motor didn't burn as much fuel, but the John Deere motor didn't have near the torque this motor's got. The last sprayer we had before we traded for this one had a John Deere motor in it. Fuel-wise, the John Deere is better. Horsepower-wise, the Cummins is better. So I'll put the fuel in it to get the horsepower to climb hills and stuff. It's not that much of a difference. In a day, you're not talking, 5 or 6 gallons probably at the most. So you're not talking about a lot. But the horsepower means a lot when you're climbing hills, packing 400 or 500 gallons of product, especially liquid nitrogen that weighs, 10 pounds. The truck, we've ran it in wheat before, and of course you tear up more wheat with it Depends on the stage the wheat's in, but the sprayers, once you get your set of tracks down, you can pretty well stay in your tracks so you're not damaging crop all over the field. Crop damage is minimal, unless you get into real muddy conditions, and then you're going to tear something up, you know. Early spring, well, we've actually ran, you know, where you're running in real, you know, sometimes in the wheat ground, well, I've ran where it was muddy. You had to get the stuff, you get your nitrogen on. And it does good. I've never hung it up, I'll put it that way. But it does good in wet conditions. In riding, you stay in these things 12 or 13 hours a day, and you get out, you're not beat to death, and it just more efficient. The acres, you get over so many more acres, you know, 400 or 500 acres a day if you had to. A lot of times on average, I'll spray between 300 and 400 acres a day when we're busy. The way things have evolved now with the newer machines, and you've got auto steer, and we got auto boom on this machine, and it's set up on 5 sections. And if you're going into a land and it's got a real steep angle to it, it'll shut it off automatically, where before I had to try to judge when to shut it off, and you'll carry it too far and you use more chemicals, so that costs you more money. So that pays for it. That was one of the best things we ever put on a sprayer. This first year we've had it, but we got auto steer on this machine. And I like that, especially if you get in a great big field and you know you're actually staying on track and things. That saves you money. It'll pay for itself, you know, in a year, as many acres as we have to spread it over. We've had GPS on a couple of sprayers, but it just basically gave you lines and showed you the fields. It didn't actually steer the machine like this one does. But that helped you too, but the GPS part goes into the shutoff on the booms, and that saves you money. That saves you a ton of money. Over 20,000 acres, that'll save you a lot of money. Well, I know you save 10 or 15% easy. You'd call it bells and whistles, but they pay for themselves. It's simple. It doesn't take you 20 minutes to grease everything on it in the mornings. Change the oil. You know, it's easy to work on. It's real easy too. Well, the old machine, the one we had before this one, we broke an axle in it. Probably 3:30, 4 o'clock, and we went and we actually fixed it ourselves. They didn't have to come out and fix it. We went up to the dealership and got all the parts and brought them out there and just put the whole new assembly back on. But they had it at the dealership and had them ready for us when we got there. Of course, you called them and told them what you needed, and they got it and had it ready. We took a tractor and a loader and just picked it up and took the old part off, put the new part on, and kept going. We were running the next morning. The dealers still, they have the parts for us, and times with electrical stuff, they still come out and fix that. Because a lot of times I can't figure out if it's, especially if it's in that computer box up there. Most of the time, if it's in that, they'll just bring a new one and put it in instead of hassle with it, so you can keep going. I could be in a sprayer and I get on the phone with Matt, and between what I already have learned about this Invisio system in this sprayer and just talking to him on the phone, we could walk through it and he doesn't even have to come out and just keep going, you know. Basically, I don't have to sit and wait for somebody to come, because it is pretty step by step. It's just every once in a while I run across a step in between that I'm not sure about. So I call them and we get it worked out over the phone. Cost-wise, compared to what John Deere cost, the John Deere's a bigger sprayer, you know, than this one is. There'd be a lot of difference in the cost between a John Deere and an Apache this size. And I really don't feel like they can get over any more acres in a day than I can with this one. But, you know, I spray all of our own farms, and I know where they're at, and I know how to spray them. That makes a difference too, as far as getting over acres in a day. If you had to have somebody hired to do it, it costs you $4.50 or $5 an acre for them to spray it. And whenever we get down at the end of the year and what you got in it, or say what you can trade for every year or something, it works out a whole lot less than that. And efficiency is the main reason that we own our own sprayers. I said before, because we get things done on time. And, you know, if you got a commercial sprayer, well, he's got other customers too to take care of. And we don't spray anything but ourselves, you know, all of our ground. So we know what we need to do, when we need to do it, and go and do it. You start this machine up in wheat in February, and we usually don't shut it down until I get in the combine starting to shell corn. This is probably the #1 piece. And you know, the rest of them, you still need your planters, and you still need your tractors and your combines. But this machine runs, you know, 10 months out of the year basically.